Hi, I'm Donna Dewberry, the original creator of the FolkArt One Stroke painting technique. I'm in the Let's Paint studio today doing another wreath of the month. Spring has sprung, tulips are blooming, and they're blooming in all sorts of colors. And I'm going to teach you how to paint that wreath today. And in this program, we have great surfaces, and this is the surface for April. It's a 19¼ inch wide birch plywood, ready to paint and hang on your front door. So the beauty of this is if you've done January with me, and I'm sure you have, then you're going to be able to turn this over and paint April on this side. So let's go to the studio and let's paint. Thanks for joining me in the studio, and let's paint some tulips. Look at all the bright, vivid colors. We're going to do a gray background, which you're going to like because it's very simple, but it gives this richness when you put the bright tulips and the bright, pretty leaves on top. So let's do it, and we're going to put this to the side, and we're going to start with our birch plywood wreath. So they're made really nice so they can hang outdoors. We're going to take and base coat this with a neutral color. So pick a color that you have that will be neutral. I use multi-surface acrylic paint because that's going to have a sealer in it, and it's going to make it all nice for you to, a nice surface to paint on. So we base coat one coat on here, and then I let that totally dry. And what happens is it kind of raises the grain when you put your first coat on there. So you're going to take sandpaper or a sanding block when it's all dry, and those little raised grain, you're going to take and just lightly sand them off. Not heavy sanding, just lightly. You could distress with this too, so that's a fun look if you choose to do that later when it's all done. But what we're going to do is get all the dust off and let a second coat go on, and that coat needs to totally dry, and then you're ready to paint. All right, so I'm going to put my block to the side. I'm going to show you that I've already have got this prepared for us for today's class, and I'm all ready to start laying out my tulips. But before I do that, I'm going to show you this fun background. Now the background is a layering of a teal, the FolkArt multi-surface teal, and the sap green. So we're going to pick up our 3/4 inch brush, and you can see I used a 12 to make it smaller, or you could use a 3/4 to make it a larger layering look. I put in my double loader the colors I'm going to be using, but let's just talk about these two. The multi-surface teal and sap green. I'm going to even put some medium in here in case I need a little medium to make it move, because I don't want you using water. I am going to wet my 3/4 inch flat brush, lay it on the paper towel, and let the excess water run out, and then we're going to be ready. So I'm going to start in the middle, knowing that I want to look really good, but you can practice over here as you get going. So what we're going to do is pick up the color here, and I want it to be generous. And so I told you you could take and do a back and forth movement and a layering movement. We're going to layer this color on top of what we put down first, and then we just keep working it out. And then we need to go get more when it starts getting thin. All right, so if you kind of do your practicing there, which is probably going to be mostly covered, and then you can work in. Now you can see I've got a little bit too much teal there, so go back and get both colors, and you just go right back over this. Now you have to remember that you're going to get a color because of the color you put in the background also, and that will make it nice too. So just like I say when I'm on a canvas, the white on the canvas is also a color, just like this color that we put on here. Just a light color. And you're going to keep doing this until we finish the whole background. So I'm going to keep doing this, and then we're going to be ready to show you our next step. Okay, so what I've done is I finished my background, and then I divided this into thirds so that I could repeat a design and know I'm going to add the colors here, then I'm going to add the extra colors here, and the third layer of colors there, and then we have red to add. So this is what's happened. I figure out about what the thirds is with my chalk. I can even go around and put circles. I can decide that I want a gold, a couple gold ones, maybe another one. Now the thing you have to be careful about is not to get too big because they're kind of tight, and we have to have the green. And I can tell you from my experience that if I get carried away, there's nothing left to make it look like a wreath. So if you keep coming in, it's not going to give you the look you want. So I'm just telling you that up front. And usually what I share with you is what I've learned from experience. Okay, so we're going to do a little one here, a little one there. So those are going to be my gold tulips and yellowish gold. So I'm going to start there and ready to go. So I'm using the 3/4. I want you to see that you can come here. We practice with a 12, so you would have room to put it in here. I'm going to use some moon yellow and some yellow ochre. So let's look at those colors here. These are the tulip colors. We've got moon yellow, yellow ochre. Then we add some white with those, wicker white. Then we have some bright pink, and we have some apple red. So those are the colors that will make all this. And in the white ones, you'll see that I added a little bit of the teal just for depth on white. All right. So now we've done this. Now we're going to come practice, and you can see all the strokes are pulled downward. So when I come in there, one of the first things I've done is I base coat it with the yellow ochre. Then I get my yellow, moon yellow and wicker white, and I'm kind of work it in. Okay. And so on this yellow ochre, while it's wet, I'm going to practice these strokes. Now I can chisel, like I've chiseled this one, or I can do a flat stroke where I'm pushing down and I'm pulling. So I would get some yellow and white on the chisel, and look how good that looks. So they're really kind of simple strokes. Look, 1, 2, and see how they're stroked there? But all you have to do is make sure you have fresh paint on the tip. So when you pull it down, it shows up on top of the yellow ochre. All right, so that's the first ones that we're gonna do. I make sure that I have a little eraser. It's my paper towels. People laugh at me, but a folded paper towel, not a wadded paper towel. And it's important because you take those wads and you get it all over you and all over your project. And then we're just going to wipe these off before they dry because it's got a sealer in it, and then it won't come off of your guide because that's what we want the paint to do, is to stay. All right, so I'm going to dry my brush, and I'm going to pick up yellow ochre. So in these circles, I'm just going to, remember they're not circles, they're kind of ovals. I'm going to put the base down first. Now my problem, if you do use a 12, we had to use a 12 on the guide, but if you use a 12 on this big wreath, then there would be really teeny tulips. All right, so I want you to lay it out, and so that's the same repeated, like 2, 1, 1. So that's how I want you to pick out a pattern and repeat this over and over. So now I'm going to wipe that off a little bit, and then pick up my yellow and my white and work it in. Okay, so now what's going to happen here is I can push down and pull, or do it on this side. That's that one stroke. And then I can just pick the whole tip up with the white, and I can push down and slide. Now, it's better if you just kind of leave it and not keep stroking it. The more I stroke it, the more I lose the color. All right, so we're just going to push on the chisel This is the chisel, by the way. And then I'm going to pick up pure white and push. This is the key to get the streaks and the color and the blending. You have to have pressure and then lift, pressure and then lift. So as we're doing this, I want you to see pressure, lift, and then I might pick up a little bit more white and do a chisel, come around, or you can put this look on both sides. And you can even add a third one in here. Let's add a third stroke right here with some yellow. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna work on our white flowers. And you notice the white doesn't show up well on white. That's why I add some teal in there, so you could add a little bit of a happy green or teal, depending on how you want it to look. And I kinda added some of both. But I'm gonna come right here and add a couple, and then we can go over here for our next step. So I'm still into this one. I can also, into this third, I can also now decide where I want other colors to go. So I can have a white, and then maybe one white in here, which is gonna run into this group. So I base coat my white. Now what we did on the worksheet here after the white, I'll show you in just a few minutes for the next stroke. A tight oval. And don't worry about the bottoms and all the green leaves. We're gonna cover that. Okay, so now I'm going to streak up from the bottom and get some of the teal. So we get a little bit of teal. All right. And I did kind of bring that up. Stroke, stroke, and that's quite a bit of teal. So I can then come back down with some white back over it. That way you can actually see push and lift. You can see the stroke, which is the first strokes that we learned. But still the teal's in there for depth. Then I went and put a little bit of happy green on here, and I'm going to add a little bit of happy green in to the base of this, just a little bit, so it gives more interest. All right, so now those are the two colors that we have first. Then I'm going to rotate to this third, and you can see I started adding the bright pink and white. So I have to wash my brush in between each one of those. And then I have a dry brush I'm getting ready to start. So this is the bright pink, just like we did all the others. And then we come in here and stroke white. Now this is the same two strokes I did before, where we chisel one side on the chisel and flat the other side. But then what's kind of fun is that we could take the same brush or even a 12 and come do a couple little commas on top, which is still that chisel stroke, but just little, all right? So I'm gonna take, and there again, you can chalk it, or you can just come in here and add a couple of pink in here. So I'm gonna have pink in here, and the white's gonna make that pink jump. The bright pink and bright pink. Okay, so if we come in here and we chisel, and then I pick up more white across it. And there again, when I'm using the bright pink, sometimes I have to put a couple strokes, let it totally dry. It's a little bit different, and that's because it's transparent. There again, see, there it is. This one's had a few layers on it. All right. I'm going to go ahead and see if I stroke over there a little bit more and then add pink back on it. I still need a little bit of white stroked on there to get that color to really pop. All right. So now what we're ready for, after we have our pink, is we're gonna come in here and add some red. And same thing happens. I can leave a little bit of this pink on my brush, the bright pink, and apple red. And I'm gonna come in here, not coming too close to the inside, and I'm gonna make my red tulips. And I have one in here. So I have some close to the edge, just a couple in here. And you might want one right in here. Okay, so then to make this look good, I can just have pink to get the petals in this one. You're gonna add the pink, and sometimes I'm gonna take, watch this, sometimes I take the bright pink and add a little bit of wicker white. So then I can chisel and stroke. Push down and lift and chisel. There we go, that looks better, you see that? Red and pink. Now I am going to take the 12 and show you that if I come in here and I just added a few pure white strokes, just like it shows you on the worksheet. The worksheet's gonna let you practice some of those strokes and they'll be easy to go on. So the next thing I'm gonna do now is go to the whole wreath where I have all of them in their place where they should be with all the colors added. Okay, so I've erased my chalk lines. I'm ready with the yellow tulips going around, some red ones, some pink ones, and some white ones. And so they're not exactly, but there's an even amount going around, which makes it really good. So now, this still isn't really pretty till we put all the really nice green on it. So I just want you to see, if we go to our teaching guide, that we're gonna use the happy green and the teal, and we're gonna use a 12. So as I'm loading this brush, I put the happy green next to the teal, so you could split those two colors and then come over here and work it in. Now you're gonna be grabbing from this color and picking up from this color each time you're working in the leaves. And every once in a while, I did pick up a teeny bit of white on one corner, which would be the light corner, the happy green corner. And then, these are longer, slender leaves, so it's not like we're just doing a one-stroke leaf. So we really do need to pick up a teeny bit of medium and work it in so that it goes smoothly on our piece. So the first thing I want to do is make sure that I'm happy with my color. Okay, now this is when I added a little bit more white to it over here. And then what we're gonna do is wipe this off and let's practice doing a few of these strokes. So I'm gonna start here on that line, push down slightly, and drag this up and stand up to the chisel. So as you're pushing this down, we've got pressure. And then I'm going to have some, see how I'm slightly twisting that brush and it stands up to the chisel. So push, lift, push, see how hard I'm pushing down, and lift. Now this is feeling like butter only because I'm on a slick surface and I have plenty of paint on my brush. We do have some that are going to be skinny, thinner, where I'm leaning and I'm standing it up on the chisel, or I'm doing the stem. That's what I was going to show you. The stem is right here. So it is just one little chisel stroke, but I'm doing it underneath each of the tulips. I'm grabbing them and pulling that stem in. And that's, just imagine we have this fresh flowers all stuck into the green foam around the wreath, and the green from the tulip stems the green leaves that are attached to the tulip stems are all going to be coming out from in there. So what we want to do is we want to grab the darker teal against the tulip, and sometimes we can't pull the stem. We can only get the little bits, little chisel, and pull it back. Okay, so let's grab each one of these, and I'm going to keep going over each one of these little guys. Now sometimes I might want to turn it and lead with the dark. So we're going to pick up the light. Let's keep this over here. See that? See how that grabs that red? I think it needs to flip on the red, like up here. So I'm going to come right here and right here. And that kind of pulls them where it makes sense. And if it doesn't fit in here, just put a little bit of green. And now is it starting to look like a wreath full of tulips? Isn't that funny? Just a little bit of stem makes a difference. So then what I want you to see again, remember on this red, is that you flip the brush and you're leading with the teal on the red ones. They're just little teeny chisel strokes, like you were doing a daisy maybe. A daisy stroke. And I'm just going to continue this on around. Let's see that all laid out and see where we're going to put the green leaves coming out from there. So they're from here, so they need to look like they came from in between the tulips into the middle or up above, onto layering on top of tulips. So same two colors, but remember, every once in a while you're going to be happy if you go in there and pick up a little bit of white, just because it gives more color to the leaves. All right, so you can practice again. I like you to put this right in front of you so you remember these strokes. Here's a perfect one for me to start with. I'm going to chisel. I'm up on the chisel. I'm going to start on that line. I'm going to push and I'm going to slide. And then I also have some skinny ones that can go in here. All right, and I also want to have some darker ones. So every once in a while, going different directions. I'm going to have some like this, and also some that go around the top. So one of the things that helped me do it easier is that, I don't like that this has a little bad spot there. There we go. Is I came around in here and just imagined some of them a lot bigger, longer, and some of them coming from here. So look at the pressure I put, and then I stood up. And I'm going to take them all around, and I'm doing just for the inside to see how I want it to flow in here. So let's do that one over. Look, we're going to put here. And then every once in a while, put it up on the tulip. It looks better that way, a little bit more natural. All right. And then I also have some skinny ones arranged in here. So just keep coming around and making that nice flow. And it's okay to have all of the green coming in, but not to have that solid wood tulips in the middle. So I'm going to come here and turn. And then long, slender. So see how this is all one color? So I would like to get some white and teal. And let's go back over this. If you're not, feel like the stroke didn't do as much as you wanted, as well as you wanted to, just pick up fresh paint and just restroke it. I really want you to see me do this stroke again, because I'm going to chisel, push hard, slide, and then roll the brush gently. Don't flip it. And there's some skinny, really thin little ones every once in a while. Let's put one up here. After I did a few of those, I thought those looked kind of nice. It pulled it all together. Put a little one here. Okay, so then I went around and added some in between each tulip. And take them over on top of some tulips. But you might want some really dark ones to cover some of the red ones. Red and pink ones. The key in this is that we just pick up fresh paint a lot. I'm going over that a couple of times because I have a ridge of paint. I had a good time painting this one. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. It was just something I hadn't done before, so it was kind of fun. I always do parrot tulips, and I thought these new tulips that aren't open yet, they're tight. So this is a great wreath to hang in multiple places in your house. And I've enjoyed you taking this lesson with me today. And guess what it takes? Practice, practice, practice. And that's how you get better. All right? So I don't like you saying, that doesn't look like Donna's, because I hope it looks like yours. And that you enjoy creating like I do. Look how bright and pretty that is. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed teaching it, and go practice. Thanks for joining the lesson today, where we learned an interesting background, some one-stroke tulips that were really simple and fun, and some bladed leaves. Now, what I would like to do is to invite you to our wonderful Let's Paint community on Let's Paint with Plaid on Facebook. And there's a perfect place for you to paint your wreaths, hang them on the door, and share those pictures with us. Now, I'm excited to see your pictures each month as you're creating with me, and I would love for you to go, let's paint some tulips.